There we go. I think I got it now. All right. Took some time for me to figure out what I'm doing. Let's just test this out real quick. Okay, there we go. I think it's working. Okay. I see. So there is a bit of a delay there. Okay. So let's see if we can get down to the nitty gritty of it. These are just some articles that I found to be interesting, and so I thought I'd just read them live so that way people can react to them as I'm going, because quite frankly, I'm finding that I'm not exactly a huge fan of editing videos. I've been doing it for a little while, and honestly, I don't have the skill or the know-how to make very good high-value videos. I typically just read the article, cut out the silent spots. Oh, why did that just suddenly cover up the whole thing? Okay. All right. So let's see here. Then we'll go ahead and move that. Okay, this was something that honestly, it kind of made me excited. Unfortunately, this is a older article. It came back out in April 20th of 2023. Title is Legacy of Kain fans are convinced the next game in the series is being secretly tested soon. Immediately, I'm kind of like, I don't know if I want the next game. I would really like a remaster. Notice I didn't say remake, I mean remaster. Last thing I need is for Legacy of Kain to be remade for quote unquote modern audiences. Modern audiences are a bunch of haters. They define themselves by everything that they hate. But why would they think this? Why would they think that a new game is coming out? Crystal Dynamics is preparing to hold a secret playtest for one of its upcoming projects in May, with some fans speculating that the Tomb Raider developer will invite select players to try out a new Legacy of Kain game. Crystal Dynamics confirmed to PC Games In that a closed playtest is happening next month, but the studio didn't mention which game will be tried out on an invite-only basis. Okay, so yeah, I might be reading this way too late because that playtesting has probably already happened. Let's see, and just so you know, this is on GameSpot by Taryn Bonthius. Sorry, my legacy of butchering last names continues. I can confirm that the invitation is genuine and from us, a Crystal Dynamics representative said to PC Games In, but can't give any information about what they'll be testing. What is known is that players I thought that said competed, sorry. What is known is that players who completed a recent Legacy of Kain survey report have received an email from Crystal Dynamics for the playtest. Crystal Dynamics will be hosting playtest for a new game in May 3rd to May 12th. The invitation reportedly reads, the playtest will be remote, so you can participate from home as long as you have a PC or Mac, web camera, microphone, and Microsoft Teams app installed. Okay, that sounds like a lot, but it's really not, right? You're talking about a computer, a webcam, a headset, and Teams for communication. I don't even know why I'm going into this. Who cares? Okay, but this is what matters right here. It's the survey about Legacy of Kain to see if there's any interest in Legacy of Kain. And I can tell you that there is. Well, at least on my side, I can tell you I'm interested. I would love for Legacy Kain to come back. Unfortunately, the guy who played the Elder God is no longer with us. He has moved on. And it took his epic voice along with him. But I think Michael Bell, who played Raziel, is still around, and I apologize, I can't remember the name of the guy who played Kain. But those guys had some epic voices. Little known fact, Michael Bell played Prowl from the Transformers, and I never would have guessed. But anyway, article continues. In October last year, over 100,000 people completed a Legacy of Kain survey, according to the studio, signaling that it heard fans loudly and clearly on their desire to see the return of the franchise. We wanted to gain a community perspective on what players are looking for should we revisit the land of Nosgoth in our iconic IP. Legacy of Kain. Unfortunately, I had to take a breath before I could continue the rest of that sentence. Okay, gosh, that's what I get for smoking all those years. Crystal Dynamics and Eidos CEO Phil Rogers said during a parent company Embracer Group earnings call. God. Okay, so yeah, I read too much there. The important thing is they did a survey of 100,000 people to kind of gain a perspective of how much interest is in Legacy of Kain. The last true entry in the series, Defiance, was released 20 years ago in 2003. God, that makes me feel old. And since then, the series has laid dormant as Crystal Dynamics worked on other projects. The developer has a full slate currently, as it's co-developing a Perfect Dark reboot with Microsoft Studio. See, like there, I want to say Microsoft Studios. Sorry, anyway, they're making Perfect Dark reboot with Microsoft Studios. The initiative and is gosh, these are hard to read, and is working on a new Tomb Raider game, which will be published by Amazon. Its previous game, Marvel's Avengers, received its final update in March. Yeah, Marvel Avengers fell on its fucking face now, didn't it? Now, I strongly considered that game because I really like Iron Man, and but every time I look at it, all that I see is it just talks about the microtransactions, and it's like, no, I just want to play the game, man. I don't mind some microtransactions in a game, but whenever you just heap it on top of a person, that just gets annoying. And I'm just looking to see if there's anything else here. There's some comments. Let's see if they said anything in the comments. But, you know, the fact is that this much time has passed. Okay, so April is the 4th month. We're sitting at the 7th. No announcement, nothing like that. I don't have much hope. Yet, here's another blast from the past that caught my eye. Amazon Studio behind hit MMO New World working on Lord of the Rings next. Now, for those of you who are old men like me, you may remember that there was a Lord of the Rings MMO RPG, MO, MMORPG ampersand Q plus 123. I hate that whenever people just keep adding more letters to something. It's an O, MMO, massive multiplayer online. That's all you need. Yeah, it was a good game. I tried it, but the problem was is that of course they had to ground the characters that the players played as, cause in the land of Middle Earth, characters like Gandalf and Aragorn, they are the exceptions. They are incredibly powerful. So you can't make your player characters as strong as they are, much the same way that in like World of Warcraft, the player characters are not as strong as, say, like Thrall, right? He used to be the leader of the Horde. Who knows who it is now? I checked out that game a long time ago. But then that makes me think, then you got games that are on the other side of it, say like Final Fantasy 14, where the player character is a messiah type character. And that kind of takes me out of it because I'm like, well, everybody here is as strong as I am. But anyway, let's see what they have to say about this. Wow, Kotaku. Yeah, I should mention that this is by Kotaku, so brace yourself. Jeff Bezos, evil empire, isn't done with Lord of the Rings just yet. What the hell does that mean? I thought that Kotaku would love Rings of Power. I mean, if you don't love Rings of Power, you're an evil person, right? So which one is it? Is it the evil people who created it or the evil people who... Okay. No consistent logic. Okay, sorry. Starting over. Jeff Bezos, evil empire, isn't done with Lord of the Rings just yet. Following the nearly $1 billion debacle that was the first season of Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, Amazon is planning to launch a new MMO based on J.R.R. Tolkien's fantasy universe. The good news is that it's being made by the developers behind the hit massively multiplayer online survival crafting game New World. So not only might it actually come out, it might even be good. I don't know about you guys, but I never played New World. Did anybody play New World? I know I sure as fuck didn't. It seems like MMORPGs, they don't work the same way that, say, like buying Devil May Cry or Resident Evil 4 works. You buy that game, you play it, you get really good at it, you master it, then you move on, right? That's what those single player games are for. They're like a puzzle or a riddle to be solved. You get really good at it, and then you kind of feel like it's all been a waste because there's nobody there to pat you on the back except for your damn self, which I shouldn't call that a bad thing, because something I tell younger people all the time is stop looking externally for validation. Stop expecting other people to validate you. Validate your damn self. Be proud of the things you do your own damn self, right? But anyway, so the people who created New World are creating this Lord of the Rings MMORPG. So I don't know if that's good or bad. I didn't play that game. The thing is, though, sorry to keep rambling on, but from what I understand, the old MMORPG for the Lord of the Rings is still going. It's still free to play. I considered logging into it not too long ago. I'd probably lose all my stuff because I'm pretty sure I deleted the email account that I created my user account for that game on. Not to mention, holy moly, boy. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if that game was 15 years old or more. Let's see here. We got quotation marks. Who said this then? They're not going to tell us who's... Oh, Christopher Hartman, VP of Amazon Games. Okay, this is what they had to say. We're committed to bringing players high-quality games, whether through original IPs or long-beloved ones like Lord of the Rings. Bringing players a fresh take on The Lord of the Rings has long been an aspiration of our team. And we're looking, oh, sorry, and we're honored and grateful Middle Earth Enterprises is entrusting us with this iconic world. Well, all I can say is good luck, because you know, people pick up this IP and they got no respect for it. I mean, that's what Rings of Power was. Oh, we're bringing a fresh take. It means we're just ignoring what the fuck came before. That's what that means. We're doing a fresh take. It's like whenever somebody starts with a clean slate, it's because they don't want to have to deal with what came before, because it's difficult. Not to mention, they already have their own story that they want to tell, but they want to call it this other thing so that it gets people's attention. That's why so many times we see like a superhero movie or a movie come out with from our past, or they really did it with He-Man, where they've got the story that they wrote 10 years ago, and they're like, I really want to tell this story. Oh, I know, if I throw a He-Man skin over it and push it out the door, people will watch it because it's He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Sorry, I am still bitter over that. Let's see, what else did they have to say? Maybe they can give us some details on how this new MMO is going to work, because the last one, like I said, well, almost all MMORPGs work the same. They work very much like World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft, or some people could argue EverQuest, really set how those work. You know, you got the global cooldowns, there's time to wait, and the fact is that it works a lot like an RPG way back in the day, like Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, and 4, where if a monster decides it's going to hit you, it's going to hit you. You know, you can't just jump out of the way. Sorry, I gotta catch my breath. If this sounds familiar, it's because Amazon actually already announced and canceled a Lord of the Rings MMO years ago. During years of reported dysfunction and false starts in the company's gaming division, it announced a project based on the works of Tolkien in collaboration with Chinese firm Leiyu Technology. Sorry, I'm probably butchering that. Leiyu was later bought by Tencent. However, the partnership soured, leading the game to be canned. As such as business, love, and war. This time around, Amazon Games Orange County, which shipped 2021's New World, a supernatural colonial online survival. Wow, they're going to say colonial, not spit or say anything bad? Oh gosh, this must be a different writer. A supernatural colonial online survival game is taking the lead. For all of New World's flaws and growing pains, it was a real and bona fide hit for a time. We'll see how the studio Lords of the Rings projects fare, and how it measures up to past MMOs based around the War of the Ring. It's got an uphill climb, but wait, maybe not. Because let's face it, right now, from what I understand, Final Fantasy XIV is king. It's actually the one I'm playing right now. And World of Warcraft is on the decline. Blizzard is struggling. Quite frankly, Blizzard fucked around and found out. People got real sick of their shenanigans. And while they were playing around with, oh, we want to reach out and appeal to these people who don't play video games, Final Fantasy was like, we've got super sexy bunny people. Final Fantasy didn't mess around. They're like, oh, you want your women to be sexy? Here you go. Oh, you want bikini plate armor? Yes, we have that for you. But what do the kids call that? Final Fantasy 14 is based, like super based, red pilled. Is that what they say? Is YOLO a thing anymore? I don't know what any of those words mean. I'm an old man. Leave me alone. The online bookstore turned cloud computing juggernaut reached an agreement with Embracer. Gosh, what a weird name. Which acquired the IP rights to The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings last year for $770 million. Could you imagine having that kind of money sitting around in your back pocket? Gosh, if I could spend that kind of money and not think about it, I probably have spent that kind of money and not thought about it. Anyway, so yeah, they acquired the rights to The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings for $770 million to produce the upcoming MMO RPG adaptation. Amazon Games is also working with Embracer-owned studio Crystal Dynamics. Amazing how things come full circle, right? On an upcoming Tomb Raider game. Make a Soul Reaver game, you bitch! What the fuck? Soul Reaver is a game everybody wants to play. People want Lara Croft for Pornhub. Oh, and that's it for that, huh? Let's take a quick look, see if there's anything at the comments. Wow, okay, man, these websites and their articles, I swear to God. Okay, now here's something I'll admit I don't know a great deal about. I played some of Diablo 3. I have not yet played Diablo 4 because I've heard it's been having a real microtransaction fiasco. From what I understand, they recently put out a patch to make it harder for people to progress in the game. And I don't know, I mean, I guess they could argue that they did that so people can get more longevity out of the game. But I've been hearing rumors being kicked around that they're, what? Get off my screen. Rumors being kicked around that they are actually doing it because somehow it helps the microtransactions. However, just something I wanted to look at real quick because I saw this and I thought it would be interesting. Future Diablo 4 seasons should remove one hurdle. This is an article by Game Rant, written by Max Borman. That's an unfortunate name. Let's see. Oh, they kind of covered the highlights here for us. Maybe this will help me get some insight as to what's going on. Because, like I said, full disclosure, I've never played it. Diablo 4's first season, Season of the Malignant, has brought exciting new content, but there are controversial changes that Blizzard needs to address before the next season. Currently, players are required to complete the main campaign before accessing the seasonal content, which could turn away any new players and potentially harm the game in the long run. Pardon me. For some reason, I was under the impression that was always a thing, but then again, I finished the main campaign of Diablo 3. Oh my god. Yeah, wow, that might have been in, what, 2016, 17? Players should have the choice to start with the basic campaign or jump into the latest content, as the main campaign is not necessary to enjoy the seasonal experience, and forcing players to replay it may lead to burnout and frustration. Okay, that I can agree with. One, whenever I first, Diablo 3 was my first Diablo. Get off me, get off my back. Um, and I was under the impression whenever I wanted to start a new character, I had to go back through the story again. Like I had to do it. But no, I was able, much to my surprise, I was able to just start running dungeons and stuff after creating the new character. And it was like the story is there to do if you want to. Or at least that's from my foggy memory. Anybody can correct me if I'm incorrect on that. But, you know, I thought that was fun, being able to just create a new character. And granted, you got to level them up again, but, you know, the fun part is running the dungeons. That's what I got my kick out of. Get yourself a beer, you know, well, who am I kidding? You get yourself a 12-pack of beers, you run through the dungeon, you kill everything, you pick up your loot, maybe something new and flashy shows up that gets you excited. If not, who cares? You got a whole bunch of new gold and a whole bunch of materials to break down. Either which way, you're rewarded for your work. And I would just grind all night, having myself a few beers. And whenever I find myself starting to struggle, I realize, oh, it's because I'm too drunk to play this game. And, you know, I call it a night. I don't know if that's how this game is going to work. I don't think that forcing players to go through the campaign all over again to start a new character or participate in the season, wow, that seems like it's just something done to intentionally slow down people. But let's see if we can get more detail here. What is this? Oh, get off my screen. After an exciting first month, Diablo 4's first season is finally here. Season of the Malignant brings with it a whole new story, new mechanics, countless tweaks, and the game's first ever battle pass. While some of the changes have been very controversial, the seasonal content has mostly delivered. If the season is a success, then there will likely be loads more Diablo 4 seasons on the way, but Blizzard may need to change some things before it kicks off Season 2. I only vaguely remember getting involved in the seasons in Diablo 3. All I know is I really like Diablo 3. It's one of the few games that I liked more on console than on PC. Don't kill me, I know. Burn him alive! Okay, let's calm down. Put down your pitchforks. I like the dodge feature. I thought that was really neat. I thought that was nice. Okay, so let's go on before somebody kills me. Not only does Blizzard need to rectify some of Diablo's 4 Season 1's initial mistakes, but it also needs to remove a pretty large barrier. Anyone that wants to create a season of the Malignant character must complete the main campaign first. While it makes sense that players should have a basic understanding of the lore and mechanics before jumping in, it also prevents newcomers from accessing the latest content right away. This approach could push possible new players away and may hurt the game in the long run, but that could be avoided with one simple change. Again, I'm a bit confused. Are they saying that a person, when they first buy the game, they have to complete the campaign once before getting into the new content? Which that I could understand, right? You start up your new character, you play through the story, you know, because they put a lot of work into this story. So you go through, you learn the character, you complete the story, you complete the campaign, and then you jump into the new mechanics or new content. And then if you decide, hey, I'm going to try out the Necromancer, well, you create that new character, and then that new character can jump into the season content because you have completed the campaign on a different character. Or are they saying every time that you create a new character, that new character has to also complete the campaign? Because then I can understand the complaint. I would hate to have to do that with every new character I create. Such as, once again, like, take a system like Final Fantasy XIV. You really don't create new characters. Your one character can just change their class. That helps you avoid having to go through the whole grind of the story missions again. Diablo, you have to create a new character. And so, would they really make you go through all that all over again? You know, maybe they answer that further down here. Okay, is that a different article? Diablo 4's seasons should be accessible to everyone. How's it not? Okay. I'm sorry, games journalists really, I don't have the most faith in them, and so whenever I see something, I assume the worst rather than giving them a chance. But that's due to years of conditioning. You see, I come back from way back in the day whenever I would get my gaming news from actual magazines delivered to my door. I loved those magazines because they would actually cover what was actually happening in video games. Anyway, okay, continuing on. When new players boot up Diablo 4, they may want to check out the latest content that the game has to offer. The entire battle pass is tied to the seasonal structure. The newest mechanics are exclusive to seasonal characters, and the focus of the post-launch support seems to be on those seasons. Everything about Diablo 4 seems to be centered around this concept, but players cannot check it out until they've finished the story. While the main campaign is great, putting restrictions like that on the player is not. Okay, somebody help me here, cause most games I've ever played, you have to complete the story first before you can go on to the other extra DLC content. And I understand seasons are not DLC content. They seem to be kind of like a competition, a friendly competition amongst friends, right? But I don't understand. Are they saying that you should just be able to buy the game and then just dive into the in-game dungeons and the seasons and the stuff like that? I don't know, am I crazy or what? I don't think that playing through the season, or not the season, but through the story once is a huge ask. And gosh, I'm going to keep harping on Final Fantasy 14, unless you're talking about Final Fantasy 14. Holy moly, that story. Oh, geez, it takes forever. Sorry if you can hear me moving my microphone around and stuff, because this thing, it keeps wanting to point straight up at the ceiling. Like, stop it, man. I'm down here. Oh, by the way, ask your doctor about Dovato. I don't know what it does, but okay. So, Diablo 4 players should be allowed to choose how they want to play the game from the get-go. If they want to start in the basic Diablo 4 campaign, then they should. But if they want to experience the game with the newest content, then they should be able to choose that. They should not be forced to play through a version of the game that they do not want to. Not only will removing this choice limit the appeal of the game to new players, but it could also lead to some burnout amongst the player base. You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, now that I'm giving it a little bit more thought, I would be upset if I bought like a Medal of Honor or any of the popular first person shooters, but Battlefield, something like that, and they were like, you have to play through the campaign before you can get to the multiplayer. No. I have literally bought games like that. I think it was Black Ops 3. And I'm not even a big first person shooter player at all. My main series is Resident Evil. Whenever I got Black Ops 3, I don't think I even started the campaign. I bought it, I downloaded the maps, and I immediately started playing it with my friends. So, as I'm reading the article, my mind is starting to change, but I don't know how much of a multiplayer fanfare or fiasco, or I can't find the right word for it, fucketology. I don't know how important the multiplayer is to Diablo 4. Whenever I played Diablo 3, I might have played with other people 3 times, and those were friends, right? They were friends who bought the game with me. And they shortly dropped out of it, and I ended up playing alone while drinking in my sad, pathetic life. No one cares about your depression. All right. So, did I already read it? Yeah, I already read that because I remember I was talking about the Dovato pill that you need to talk to your doctor about. Okay. So what's going on here? Season of the Malignant is practically the same experience as the Diablo 4 campaign with a couple of new additions and mechanics. The core gameplay is identical. The world of Sanctuary has very few changes, and nothing about it requires previous knowledge. While veteran players will be able to jump into this new model right away, newcomers are forced to level up a different character before they access the new content. After spending hours grinding out the story, they may not want to do it all over again just to unlock some cosmetics. They may also run out of time before the season ends, and will be forced to wait for the next season instead. You see, here they imply that whenever you create a new character, you have to do it all over again. But anyway, for people who are actually playing this game and know what it's talking about, this might be something for you, or you can fill me in. While the season of the Malignant questline may take place after the fall of Lilith, that does not mean players should be forced to finish the campaign before jumping in. It would make sense if the campaign was locked to the base game, but Season 1 characters can still play through it. This makes the decision to lock the season behind a restriction seem strange, and it is something that should not be carried over to the next one. If Blizzard wants an easy win with a controversial update, then simply lifting this restriction may help anyone looking to take the leap into Sanctuary. I'm starting to agree with them. I'm starting to agree. It's starting to make sense then. Because, let's face it, like, after I leveled up my Crusader in Diablo 3, that was for the main quest line, and whenever a new season started up, I would just start playing a new character in the season. Because it's like, why am I still bothering? Like, I played through the story, played through the campaign. I kind of want to see what I can get new out of this season. Oh, I thought for sure that they would go into a comment section, but then again, a lot of game journalists shut down their comments. Okay, sorry, I'm looking at this next article, trying to decide if this is something that people would be interested in hearing. You know what? Why don't we just move on from Diablo for just a second here? We'll check out. It's still the same people. It's the gamer, but it's about Mortal Kombat 1. If you're interested in that game. Oh, there we go. All right. So we'll go ahead and get rid of that little guy. There we go. So, Ed Boon hints next Mortal Kombat 1 character reveal will be from the 3D era. Now, as we know, the roster for this game is kind of slowly being leaked. And at this point, I think it's intentional. Mortal Kombat has always been about this. And leaks is now like how you have a secret character in the internet age, right? you can no longer put the hints in the game. You have to put the hints slowly online and let people try to track it down. And you got to do this before the game is released, because if people can find find anything in the code of the game, they will. But of course, now game developers have the ability to help hide that, as in they don't push anything with the code out to the game until after you buy it, because of day one patches, right? Oh boy, does that bring back memories. I only played a limited amount of the 3D era because, quite frankly, I just was not impressed with Deadly Alliance. Making fighting games 3D, I just felt like was a mistake. The only 3D playing fighting game I liked was Soul Calibur, and I was never able to get good at it. Like Street Fighter 4, whenever fighting games started to pull back into 2D, was when I started getting good at them again. 4D, I don't know. I guess my brain is limited. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Let's see here. Later today, well, of course not today. When did this come out? When was this? It was published 1 day ago. Okay. So maybe this is relevant. Man, these videos, I swear. Ed Boon has very subtly hinted that the next character that's revealed in Mortal Kombat 1 will be from the 3D era, which supports earlier rumors that Ashra is next in line for the roster. Later today, Ed Boon and several voice actors working on Mortal Kombat 1 will be taking part in an hour-long panel at San Diego Comic-Con. I think that's where Eric July is, to reveal more details on the game, including announcing at least one new character who's going to be joining the roster as well, having 3 separate trailers to show off. So that's got to be nice. But yeah, from what I understand, the San Diego Comic Con is, in my opinion, kind of a big deal because Hollywood isn't really involved because they're all having their little strikes right now. And so it's really paying attention to the comics. And so you got Eric July there, and Isom and Nerdrotics is there, talking about their comics. And so really, it seems like the place is going to be taken over by comics, indie comics, and video games. Over the past few days, Ed Boon has, as you'd expect, been teasing fans with what's going on to get shown off at the San Diego Comic Con, and dropped a few unsubtle hints that give us an idea of what's coming up. Yesterday, Boon tweeted, "Trailer hint numero uno," along with a gif of someone in 3D glasses, clearly hinting that the next character or characters that's going to be revealed is from the 3D era. Uh, okay, so honestly, I don't know, because the fact that he says numero uno makes me think that it would be a Latinx a Latinx character. That's such an awkward word to say. But then, yeah, of course, the 3D glasses make it seem like it's from the 3D era. Although that might not seem like it narrows things down at all, considering how many characters were introduced during the 3D era of Mortal Kombat. There's one that's been rumored heavily above the rest, Ashra, who debuted in Mortal Kombat Deception. That's such an odd sentence. Who debuted in Mortal Kombat Deception is not only one. For now on, I'm just going to read as posted, because trying to correct, or maybe my brain just isn't wrapping around it. Okay, so Ashra came out Mortal Kombat Deception, and not only is one of the most popular characters of the era, but there's also some decent evidence that suggests that she could be the next character revealed. Okay, what is the evidence? Jesus Christ, you've reiterated that. Or perhaps I just had to reread that so many times. In the description for the San Diego Comic-Con panel, it mentions that Kelly Hu is going to be part of the showcase. As a character to be revealed at the panel, Hu has voiced several Mortal Kombat characters in the past, but she's set to voice Ashra in Mortal Kombat Legends Cage Match movie, which makes it likely that she'll return to voice the character in Mortal Kombat 1. With that in mind, it seems incredibly likely that it'll be her who gets revealed, especially with Boone's tweet about the 3D era. And he tweeted, Mortal Kombat ain't just a video game. Now, this makes total sense because cross promotion is just good business. If Ashra is going to be in Johnny Cage's game Cage Match, then of course you want to put her in your latest Mortal Kombat game to hype up the other one that's coming out. But I didn't even know that was coming out. Mortal Kombat Legends Cage. Oh, never mind. Cage Match isn't a game; it's a movie. You see, starting to think maybe I shouldn't be talking about video game news. I am way behind. But the Mortal Kombat Legends Cage Match movie is probably an animated movie, and from what I understand, the animated movies aren't exactly great. But we'll see what happens. The next hint that Boone dropped was a tweet that said Mortal Kombat ain't just a video game. Considering Boone mentioned that there were going to be some surprises at the show, it's possible that we're going to get a look at the upcoming animated movie or some content that ties into Mortal Kombat 2. However, since the SAG-AFTRA strikes are going on, this could be something that doesn't end up happening in the end. Yeah, with strikes and the unions, people, not only are they not working, but you're not allowed to work. It's some kind of strange deal. So good luck with all that. I don't know how they're going to negotiate for more money though when they haven't really been knocking it out of the park. Okay. So what to gain from that is that it seems like Ashra is going to be the next um Mortal Kombat character revealed. Ashra, I think that she was a lady in a big white hat, all dressed in white. And honestly, I don't know much about her because I never played Deception or Armageddon. I think she's from the realm of Order, but I could be wrong. She looked like a female Raiden to me, which I've seen cosplays of Lady Raidens, and yeah, uh, I'm a fan. In fact, I want to see if I can find an image of that. Um, oh, whoops. Let's see if it's safe for work. Oh, okay. So some of these are what do you call it? Raiden from Metal Gear Solid. Yeah. So I'm not going to complain. I wouldn't complain if Raiden was a lady. Would you? I'm totally down for a lady Raiden. Step on me, mommy. Tell me what to do. Okay, so let's get on to the next thing. I really need to finish this game coming up. I'm kind of afraid I'm going. If I get into spoilers here, I am done. I'm done. I'll move on to the next thing. Okay, so, oh, what? Magnification. Okay, there we go. So let's go ahead and hide my guy there. There we go. And Resident Evil 4 remake passes impressive sales milestone. Well, it should. It's a good game. And I know that for somebody who hasn't finished the game yet, that's a horrible thing to say. I haven't finished it not because it's a bad game. So far, I'm having a blast. it's just I'm having a hard time goading myself up to get back into it and play it, because it is a, even though it's a scary game, it's also a very exciting game, and I tend to be a very relaxed, passive person. And so, whenever the people want to kill me, I'm kind of like, all right, that's what you want to do. Just go with the flow. And in the game, you have to be pretty aggressive. Also, I still have yet to really master the parrying thing. Uh, I might stream it on YouTube if people show any interest in that. But yeah, here we go. The highly praised remake of Resident Evil 4 has already passed a sales milestone at a rate that the franchise hasn't hit in over a decade. Well, it would be um, fate or destiny. I'm not sure which one you would call it. Ironic, if Final Fantasy Resident Evil 4 remake was just a blockbuster for Capcom, because the original Resident Evil 4 was remade on everything. It wouldn't surprise me if it still continues to be re-released on things even though its remake is out. Because honestly, even though as I'm playing the remake of Resident Evil 4, sometimes I think, man, I really miss playing the original, which I have it on Steam, so I might play that as well. The game was just good. It's one of the few games that had an escort part of it that was enjoyable. So, okay, let's hide that stuff over there. There we go. So, just for the highlights of this article, the Resident Evil 4 remake has reached a significant sales milestone, selling 5 million. 5 million! Nice! Congratulations, Capcom. Capcom is a company that I like, so I like it whenever they do well. Very rarely do they do something where I'm like, shame on you, you know? The Resident Evil 4, 5 million copies in just 4 months, making it one of the fastest selling games in the franchise. The inclusion of DLC, particularly Ada Wong's storyline, has generated anticipation among players and may contribute to a surge in sales, potentially making it one of the best-selling games in the franchise. Like I said, that would make sense because it kind of always should have been. It always has been. So, uh, let's move on down here. The recent remake of Resident Evil 4 has already crossed an impressive sales milestone, reaching 5 million units sold. The game was released earlier this year to a strong opening, sales, and positive reviews from critics. Now, the remake of Resident Evil 4 has become one of the fastest selling games in the franchise, as it should. The Resident Evil 4 remake was originally revealed in the mid 2022. The trailer for the game was suggested that the remake would have a darker and more serious tone. It does. It certainly does. It's not getting that whole like the original Resident Evil 4. I felt kind of like I was playing like a super spy. And this one, it feels like I'm playing a higher tempo Resident Evil 2, which I am fine with. I'm very happy with that. Um, while this was certainly true to the game's start, it gradually became goofier and campier as it went on, and more akin to the original than the trailers initially suggested. Now, it appears that this formula has clicked with players as the game has already hit a big milestone. I'm kind of disappointed to hear that the game starts to get goofier as it goes on. I just, full disclosure, I just went in my playthrough. I just got into the castle, so I don't know how goofy things are going to get. I know Salazar is a funny character, but then again, whenever it comes to survival horror, let's face it. As you play the game, as you go further and further down it, you start to reach a point to where the game's not scaring you anymore. And it's usually because you got so many guns and so many ways to protect yourself that it becomes more of a monster killing game. Well, no, I shouldn't say that, because you got to pay attention to your ammo, at least in Resident Evil 1 and 2. Pardon me, sorry. Hey, Sunil, thank you very much for joining me. Nice to see you. All right, so let's go on down here. Sorry, I kind of messed up my where did I put that at? There it is. There it is. There we go. Okay, I put my controls down. All right, so here we go. According to Capcom, the remake of Resident Evil 4 has already sold 5 million copies, as we covered, worldwide, after being out for 4 months, making it one of the fastest selling. For comparison, it took Resident Evil Village 5 months to reach that point, while Resident Evil 7 Biohazard took roughly 8 months to reach that amount. The last game to reach that number was Resident Evil 5, which remains one of the best-selling games in the Resident Evil franchise. Resident Evil 5 was just a damn good, fun game, even though somebody could say it's not really a Resident Evil game. It was just a fun game, especially if you're playing with a friend. A lot of these numbers, in my opinion, make sense. Resident Evil 7 probably took 8 months to reach that number, because you got to remember how big of a departure Resident Evil 7 was. People kept saying, oh, it's a return to form. It's a return to form. No, it wasn't. It was not a return to form. It was so much different from the original Resident Evil. It was first person. It was practically a first person shooter. But however, it returned to the idea of having to hoard your resources to solve puzzles. Well, I don't even like the puzzle aspect of Resident Evil. Oh my god, kill him! String him up! No, sorry. I like the idea of getting key items and having to backtrack to get items to move forward in the game. I love that, but the puzzles themselves, I find that they just take me out of the game. I'm like, I kind of wish most of the time I just want to pull up a guide and just, here, give me the answer. I don't feel like sitting here all day trying to figure out this Rubik's Cube. Anyway, but that's why, in my opinion, it would have taken Resident Evil 7 some time to get some traction. Not to mention, Resident Evil 6 really killed the franchise's momentum. People didn't like that game whenever it came out. Resident Evil 6, I would argue, is a better game now, much better game now than when it released. If somebody were to ask me about it, I would recommend Resident Evil 6 to them. But back whenever it first came out, it sucked. And then, of course, Resident Evil Village, better sales number, because Resident Evil 7 showed that that formula can work. Not to mention, after the hype after Remake 2 and 3, Resident Evil is fucking killing it. All right. Oh, wow. Oh, sorry. I'm covering up part of the words there. Sorry about that, everybody. From the start, it was fairly clear that the new remake would be a massive hit for Capcom. Early on, the Resident Evil 4 remake outsold the GameCube version at launch and cleared 4 million sales in the first 2 weeks. The game has also been incredibly well reviewed on Metacritic, and the average score hitting 90s across multiple platforms. It is also likely that these sales will continue to climb as the publisher isn't quite done with the latest Resident Evil remake. Yes, they're going to be adding DLC. Of course, we have to have the Ada section of it and all that good stuff. So, yeah. And once again, something else to make everybody want to kill me. I originally thought that Resident Evil 4 shouldn't be remade. I was like, it's already really good. Why would you remake it? And it turns out I was really, really, really fucking wrong. But yeah, It's a really good game. It's really fun. I can understand why it's doing so well. And to me, this should be a screaming endorsement of the game. If you're on the fence about buying it, I would consider buying it. I would strongly consider it. I would just go buy it. Why don't you already have it? What the fuck are you doing with your life? Get good. Get right. Do you even game, bro? Okay, so let's see here. We'll finish the article off with this. Um, Early on, it was clear that Ada Wong's story in the game would be sold as DLC. I don't like the fact it's going to be sold. It should be part of the game, but whatever. Her story was originally made available to players after they had completed the main game and detailed what she was up to while Leon was trying to rescue Ashley Graham and how she helped him from a distance. Leaks from Capcom have suggested that Separate Ways DLC for Resident Evil 4 will be released sometime later this year. If so, it is possible that the game could see a new surge in sales around that time and may become one of the best-selling games in the franchise before the publisher moves on from it. Which leads me to wonder, are they going to remake Resident Evil 5? At this point, it seems like that's a definite yes, right? Like, Heretic Prince, you dumbass. Why would you even ask the question? Why are you asking the question, you imbecile, right? But I just, on one hand, I feel like the game's still new, but that's because I'm old and I still play the game a lot. Like, I really, 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 really like Resident Evil 5. I imagine if they were to recreate that game, it would be the major thing that they could definitely improve would be the AI for not Ada, Sheva. That's who I'm thinking of. The AI for Sheva, or now that the internet and playing online and playing with your friends is much more common. Well, thanks to COVID, playing remotely with each other has become much more normalized. People do it a lot more often. I gotta reload that page. But yeah, so now the game having two players would be much easier and much more normal, and people would be more accepting of it. But if I was going to remake Resident Evil 5, I would try to make it in some way that you could play through it by yourself, because I don't know. Maybe that's just because I don't have enough faith in AI to make it work well with the player. But then again, we now live in an age where we use AIs to solve our daily problems. Or at least I do. Let's see here. Where are we off to next? Oh boy. Sorry, I gotta take a quick drink. Maybe if I keep doing these streams, maybe I need to have some like music in the background, something like that. So that way, whenever I do have to mute to take a drink or cough or something like that, people know that the stream didn't end. But if it starts to work out, we'll worry about how to improve it, right? However, do we have any Dungeons and Dragons nerds here? Because that's what I'm going to look at next. Because Saturday is my Dungeons and Dragons day. You see, every Saturday, well, most Saturdays, some Saturdays, me and my Dungeons and Dragons group get together and we play D&D, and we make funny faces at each other and pretend to be characters that we aren't because we are so sick of our adult lives. So, The Gamer, once again, sorry, I'm covering a lot of articles from The Gamer because it seems like they typically write things from a neutral point of view. I mean, neutral but with personality, and I kind of dig that. This might be nice for anybody who's interested in getting into the game. Dungeons and Dragons, 7 curses to use on your players. And now that I said that out loud, maybe I shouldn't read this because my DM might be listening. Who am I kidding? But if he ever listens to this, he might be like, oh, that's a good idea. My rogue is a bit of a horn dog and he constantly threatens to have a mimic get me, but he hasn't done it yet. We'll see what happens. Blades aren't the only way to bring down a hero. By Matthew Cochran. Now, we have had some funny incidents with cursed items in our campaign already. Because we had a person who every time they get hit and they were holding this particular axe, they would start to go berserk. I forgot how we got rid of it. And we got rid of it somehow. I don't remember. I probably stole it and sold it. Other than through magic items, players and dungeon masters alike might be unaware of the handful of curses found throughout Dungeons and Dragons. Curses in 5e are unique that there are only a few ways to remove them. And they can be delivered through any number of means with a variety of effects. In short, curses in Dungeons and Dragons are very, very, very difficult to remove. A cursed item, things like that. It seems like most of your spells, even some of them that seem to imply that they remove curses, don't actually remove them. If you don't have a cleric with you, you're going to have a hard time. Maybe a cleric, a celestial warlock, possibly a bard who's a little bit more focused on healing might be able to help you if you get a curse, but a curse is not to be taken lightly. While it might be easy to homebrew curses depending on the theme of your campaign, balancing them might require looking at the official curses for inspiration or just as a jumping off point. Spread across the D&D 5e sourcebooks and adventure guides are some unique curses that will be sure to introduce a terrifying surprise to your campaign. Typically, a curse, it seems like, comes in the form of something that seems too good to be true. And you get the good stuff. Like I was talking about this cursed axe, it was very strong. But a bit too many times, it caused that player to have to attack one of his allies. And there came a point where the rest of the party decided the the downside of being hit by that thing is more than having him have that axe was worth. And that's what you'll oftentimes find with cursed items, even though sometimes people find that the curse is worth putting up with. And that's where you're going to have the hard time balancing it. You got to give the characters something good enough to entice them to get it, but something bad enough to balance it out, or bad enough to consider it a curse, because a curse is not supposed to be a good thing. And sometimes you don't realize something's cursed until you've had the item for way too long. Alright, so what's this all about? One of the simplest options to curse your players is to have a spellcaster cast Bestow Curse on them. Well, that's pretty straightforward. You can also combine this with the Glyph of Warding spell to store Bestow Curse and set up a trap. Although this type of curse is best used during combat, as your players can likely save out of it in under a minute. What? Also, the curse is best used during combat, as your players can likely. I don't understand what they're trying to say. Hey, Carl, nice to see you here. I'm glad that I have such a distinctive voice. And tell him I said hello. How you doing, buddy? So I don't understand what they mean by save out of it in under a minute. Like, okay, so in combat, things are happening much faster than what they're actually happening at the table. Each character's turn, I think, is considered 6 seconds. And so whenever something is thrown at you and you roll to save yourself from it, like a dexterity or a constitution check, all that's happening really fast. So I think that's what they're implying here, but we'll see. Maybe they explain a little bit later. Article continues. Although the base wording of the spell gives your creature a bonus to damage and your players a disadvantage to save and checks, there is an additional aspect of the spell that is open-ended and allows you to create unique effects. This can be conditions like blindness, deafness, incapacitation, or more unique effects like rapid aging. That would be just fucking mean. Short-term madness or temporary polymorphing. Oh, like turning them into a sheep. This can also be used against you, as your players can also access bestow curse. Yeah, I don't remember what happened to the curse axe, but apparently it helped destroy an orphanage, which makes I didn't think we were that bad of people, but apparently we are. We are the most evil good people. Well, I never claim to be a good person, so there's that. Okay, so cursed treasure. Like the Aztec gold in the Pirates of the Caribbean, or Caribbean, whichever. I'm going to say Caribbean because that's the way I like to say it. Some treasures are not meant to be touched. By simply removing it from the tomb or dungeon, your players can be cursed with significant mechanical debuffs or never-ending nightmares. Now, never-ending nightmares could cause exhaustion, and exhaustion ain't no joke. You can use examples within D&D 5e that employ this style of curse, like the treasure of a mummy lord, or within the hidden shrine of a, I'm not saying that word, Tamagotchi, until the treasure is returned. Whoever stole it has a permanent disadvantage to saving throws. This can be a problem if your players sell it off to or otherwise spend the treasure, but it can lead to a mini adventure where they have to track it all down and return it. Much like the Black Pearl, they had to find every piece of gold that they had spent. Lycanthropy. We literally had a player in our D&D who had caught lycanthropy, right? If you don't know what that means, it means you're going to turn into a were version of an animal, typically a wolf, but sometimes, like in our case, it was a were rat. And so this person was turning into a were rat, and we realized that turning into a were rat is a very bad thing because you might turn on your party. So we get him cured while he is passed out in a coma. He wakes up and then he turns on us anyway because he wanted to be aware. Cause that's how insane the people I play with are. One of the most iconic curses in all fantasy lore is lycanthropy. In 5e can take a number of forms. While the most common form of lycanthropy is werewolves, that's what I was just saying, you can use many other forms while borrowing from their stat blocks to come up with homebrew variants, like were sharks or even were squirrels. Were sharks. Okay, I gotta write that one down in my notebook. Although employing lycanthropy can be difficult, as the Monsters Manual doesn't explicitly give stats or rules other than whether the player accepts the curse or resists it, if your players choose to accept the curse, consider adding drawbacks like forcing a change in alignment or taking control of their character while they are transformed. Otherwise, it might become more of a gift than a curse. That's true. However, it seems like shifting alignment is something that, well, at least for my D&D group, shifting our alignment doesn't really have any effect because we have several DMs in our group, and they seem to really treasure free will. Like, your character will do what your character will do, and only sometimes moderately asking for a justification of why our character would do that particular thing. And like I said, it's very rare. They pretty much let us do whatever they want. However, I feel like in that same vein, taking control of the character whenever they're transformed is a real punishment. Because I know I really don't like it whenever control of my character is taken away. And I'm pretty sure most D&D players are the same way because that the game is very much about freedom. You do what you want when you want to do it. And like only every now and then having to justify what you're doing. Like if you're metagaming, your character is acting on information they couldn't possibly have. That's one place where you get restricted. Or sometimes if your alignment, if you're really playing with alignment, and if your character has always been a lawful good person and suddenly they go to steal coin out of somebody's pocket, the DM might look at you like, dude, what are you doing? Why would your character do that? You know, it doesn't make sense. Okay, number 4, Mummy Rotting Fist. Huh. Rotting Fist sounds like a intimate men and woman's playtime move. Uh, One of the few creatures that can employ curses with their attacks, mummies use their rotting fist to drain their target of life until they eventually turn to dust. Despite having low health and damage, this is what makes mummies so dangerous, as your players slowly lower their maximum health until they die. If your players are caught in the middle of the desert with no remove curse spell ready, be careful using this curse, as you might outright kill one of your players with a delayed fuse. There are other ways to employ this curse, though, such as giving it to any creature that sits on the mummy lord's throne, or through a bite of a horde of scarabs hiding amongst his treasure. The Yes, this is something I think DMs have to be very careful of, is just suddenly and almost unjustly killing one of their players by giving them a curse that kills them without some form of recourse, some way to save themselves. I think that something such as a curse like this that will kill you in a few hours, I think a DM should use this in an attempt to get the players to start spending spell slots, right? To remove that curse. Okay, I got this curse. It's aging me rapidly. I need somebody to remove it. The cleric removes it, but now they got one less spell slot. It's kind of like playing a fighting game and you're trying to force the your opponent to spin their bar, to spin their meter bar, so that way you can get them in the corner and beat the hell out of them. They can't get out because they don't got any more meter. That's what the DM should be using this to do to your players. You are forcing them to spin spell slots, so that way when they do get to the final encounter, just healing themselves through face tanking the fight isn't an option. And the last one, the Demolish Vile Curse. Ah, that looks like a painful way to go. One of the legendary actions of the Demolich is employing Vile Curse, which gives disadvantage on attacks and saves. That's pretty brutal. This is a brutal curse during combat that can essentially remove one of your players from the equation, and a Demolich can do it on another player's turn. Since the stat block lacks a descriptive flair, considering adding a horrid cacophony of whispers or black ichor leaking from their eyes to make it come across as more of a curse. If you want to make any undead creature more powerful, give them the same legendary action. You can balance it by making it require more or less legendary actions or change the save DC. But since this is a curse and not a magical effect, it is more likely to succeed, while other effects could be removed by spells like Dispel Magic. Like I was saying before, remove curse. I apologize, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I believe that the spells that remove curses are rarer. And not to mention, a lot of times people don't even prepare them because curses themselves are rare. Now, so if somebody catches a curse, they might need to pray that it is a curse that lasts multiple days, or they're about ready to enter a long rest, so that way the cleric can prepare the spell to get rid of that curse. And like I said before, if your DM decides that the curse gives you nightmares or something like that, you might not get to sleep. So you got to spend the next day with exhaustion. But yeah. So I hope that didn't give anybody any ideas. Carl. Don't you go share this information with our DM. if you DM, I'm sorry guys, in my chat is one of a person I play D&D with, and they do DM from time to time, and so I'm sitting here literally feeding them ideas. This is not good. This is not a good thing. Oh, it turns out that there's more. How many did I say that there were? Did they say 10? Was it 10? For some reason I thought it was 5. Okay. So we got another curse here. I thought we were done at 5. Let's see here. Fomorian Curse of the Evil Eye. Cursed by the Fae to appear as misshapen and grotesque, Fomorians can target their curse onto others, potentially deforming them while having their speed and giving them disadvantage on saves, checks, and attacks. I thought that since it made you look ugly, it would like do something to your charisma, but I guess it does. This can be a unique curse in that it is up to you how malformed you want the players to get. Perhaps their arms become different sizes and covered in boils. Their hair falls out, or their smile widens around their head. You will want to be careful not to use this curse on a player who is fond of their character's aesthetic, or would otherwise ruin some of their fun. Beyond that, it is an amazing tool to surprise players you know to be comfortable with body transformation. Oh god, here we go. Since the curse requires the Fomorian's eye, you can place it in any place where a severed eye might be, or even used by other creatures like hags. Yeah, I would definitely say this is a curse that you want to put on somebody that can be removed sooner rather than later. If they're in a dungeon, you can put this on them to give them some disadvantages. Especially if it's someone that is really wrecking your encounters, but then have them be able to get out of it at some point. Or maybe power word kill. Yeah. I don't understand why that spell is even in the game. Power word kill, just up and kill somebody. I don't know. I kind of feel like that takes any drama or tension out of things. Next on the list, the Akshara Claw. Okay, here we're going to linger on this for any furries who might be watching. There you go. Get it out of your system. Did you finish? I don't care. You're not getting any more. One of the more complicated creatures to roleplay with success, Rakshasas are clever and slippery. I've never heard of this race or class. Oh, sorry, it's a creature. Okay. The Rakshasas are clever and slippery, and their curses effect make them especially dangerous. Oh, and their curse effect makes them especially dangerous. With their claw attack, they give their target horrible nightmares and make it so they can no longer benefit from rusting. This kind of curse can be applied to any horror campaign, as it makes it easy to describe horrible nightmares that fit the theme and are personal to your player or their characters. This effect stacks with each rest, as you'll find your players will become less and less useful without being able to restore their class or species resources. This can put a time on beating the Rakshasas or any other creature you give the curse attack to, as your cursed players will not be able to restore hit points by normal means. That would be a bit of a nightmare. And the thing is that it would get worse as time goes on. So I think this is something that you would throw onto a party when they don't have any means of removing a curse. And you kind of want to teach them real quick that curses are going to be a thing and they need to be prepared for it. Because this doesn't seem to really punish you until the next day. You know what I'm saying? So if I were a DM, I would hit people with this if I was well aware that they were not preparing themselves for curses. Because it gives them time, right? The next day, after a long rest, that character is going to suffer because of it. But at least that day, it's not too big of a deal. And then the next day, they can decide, especially if they finished a dungeon and they made it into town, you know, that character just, they're going to have shitty rolls when dealing with, you know, the townspeople and stuff. Oh, and it looks like 7 was the magic number. Why did I think it was 5? Is it because I don't know how to read? Oh, it says specifically in the title, 7 curses you can use on your players. So there you go, Carl. You now are aware of 7 curses to hit us all with and how I would prefer for you to use them. And whenever I say use them, I mean use them on the other people, not me, because we're best friends. At least... At least so long as you're not cursing me. No, get that off my screen. Okay, now here's something. No, you can get that off my screen too. Okay. Now here's something that I thought was terribly interesting because it's something that I wanted to do, but I myself, I'm not a big fan of installing and downloading things on my computer that I don't know what they are. I quite literally have a secondary computer that I will download things onto because I'm not too concerned if that computer gets destroyed. Unfortunately, that computer is also incredibly slow. Anyway, my point is that I never downloaded the Dolphin emulator because I was afraid it would come with some kind of malware or some kind of virus, because I don't have enough faith in people to think that people do things for free, right? Even though I know better, because there's people out there who fix old video games and put the patches out on the internet for free, but I have an inherent fear of them. That's why I don't have a whole lot of mods on my games. But here we go. After being kicked off Steam, Dolphin emulator devs say Nintendo's legal claim is a reach. Now that we have talked to a lawyer, we are no longer concerned. Those take some brass balls, my man. I don't know how other people feel about it, and perhaps I'm wrong. My opinions are always in flux because whenever I get introduced to new information, much like whenever I was reading the Diablo article, I started out disagreeing, but near the end of it, I agreed because new information, new perspectives. But for me, emulation, I don't have a huge problem with it simply because these game companies are not making the games available or easily available to us. If I want to play Star Fox, they, to me, if they're not going to sell me that game in an easy way for me to get it, I pay money, you give me product, then I should have the right to get that product by other means. Well, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say right. I'm not going to say right. It's not a right, but I just simply I think that there shouldn't be a huge problem with me getting it through it because they're not making money off of it anyway. That's what I mean. If you're not going to make money off of it, then fine, let me have it anyway. No, now even as I say that out loud, I think of 100 ways why that's a bad thing. But the hell with it, I'm a gamer. I want to play my games. Not to mention Star Fox is a bad example because it's on the SNES Classic, which I have sitting underneath my television in my bedroom. Uh, Maybe I should share some more details of my bedroom with you. Wow, chicka, wow, wow. But anyway, let's see here. But I didn't know it was on Steam ever, so that surprised me as well. Whenever they said kicked off Steam, I thought that they meant that it just simply wasn't allowed onto Steam. But yeah, there's games out there for the Super Nintendo that I would really like to play again. But I can't go and buy a Super Nintendo. And I'm not paying $200, $300 for a Switch to buy the games. And then they come out with a new console. And then I got to rebuy the games again and buy the new console again. I'm not getting stuck in that loop again. That's why I started playing on PC. That and I'm not a pleb. But anyway, let's get on with this. The lawyers representing Nintendo wish to create a narrative where the DMCA exceptions do not apply to us, as these exceptions are powerful and widely in our favor. Wow, okay. I wonder if they're actually going to take on Nintendo. Nintendo has been pretty strong, very strong with the Force. The Force is strong with you. But Nintendo used to get people DMCA claimed for reviewing their games on YouTube. I could have sworn that there were even stories that Nintendo got people DMCA'd by just simply talking to them or talking about them. And so, let's see here. Let's see what they have to say. I'm speculating too much. 6 weeks after GameCube and Wii emulator Dolphin was removed from Steam due to a letter from Nintendo claiming it violates Nintendo's intellectual property rights, the emulator developers have issued a detailed response on the Dolphin blog. The response, with input from legal counsel, announces that the Dolphin team will not be reattempting to launch the emulator on Steam. We are abandoning our efforts to release Dolphin on Steam, the post states. Valve ultimately runs the store and can set any conditions that they wish for software to appear on it. Given Nintendo's long-held stance on emulation, we find Valve's requirement for us to get approval from Nintendo for Steam's release to be impossible. Impossible, but yeah, I can understand why Steam would do that. Steam doesn't want to get in any kind of legal fight. Steam has a very hands-off approach to most games that are put on their storefront. They leave it up to the player base, as they should, to decide what they feel is acceptable and what is not. If it's not acceptable to you, do not buy the product. Go America. Fuck yeah. But This is kind of a strange spot, but what's Steam going to do? You're going to. I'm reminded of the Soldier Boy console that came out with a whole bunch of Nintendo games on it, and Soldier Boy was acting like, "Oh yeah, this is totally legit." It's like, no, it's not, pal. It's not legit. I guess it would depend on how they're doing it. If they put the Dolphin emulator on Steam for free, like you don't have to pay for it, I don't know what they would be violating, other than some people could claim it's piracy. That announcement is just a brief portion of the post, however. More significantly, the Dolphin blog pushes back on Nintendo's claim that the emulator violates the Digital Millennium Copyright Act by including proprietary copyright keys used to decrypt Wii and GameCube games. I didn't know it went that far. I thought it was just Super Nintendo and Nintendo. And declares that it will not be removing the Wii's encryption key from its source code. This sounds extremely bad at a glance, and we certainly had a moment of panic after first reading it. But now that we have done our homework and talked to a lawyer, we are no longer concerned, the Dolphin team says. We have a very strong argument that Dolphin is not primarily designed or produced for the purpose of circumventing protection. Well, I don't know about all that. All that I'm concerned about is how readily available are the games. Because, like I said before, if the developer is not going to make the games available to us, then I can't get mad at anybody for finding an alternative means of getting it. Let's see here. This okay, just checking to make sure everybody can see everything. So I thought maybe I left up my other screen. I was like, oh, that would be horrible. But anyway, the specific element of Nintendo's claim against Dolphin requires a bit of explanation because it was widely and heatedly discussed after the emulator was removed from Steam in a video that pulled nearly 300,000 views. Prominent game developer and emulation company member Modern Vintage Gamer said that Dolphin have kind of messed this up, citing the inclusion of the AES 128 common key used to decrypt games in the emulator source code. So it seems to me like what they're saying is that that game's too modern, right? Emulating something that's modern while it's still on sale might be a problem. Even though I don't think the Wii is still on sale, and quite frankly, I miss my Wii. I miss my Wii. Sorry, I promise you, I'm more than 10. I promise. Don't be fooled. I'm an adult in real life. MVG linked to the Wikipedia page describing an illegal number, and that same link was widely shared in Reddit discussions in the wake of Dolphin's removal from Steam, essentially treating it like a smoking gun. In this one on our Smash Bros, for example, the Reddit wrote, I'm a programmer myself, and Dolphin unfortunately used illegal numbers in their software. The Dolphin team should be lucky that only the Steam version was taken down and not the source code itself. Okay, so basically, it sounds like they're dipping into the idea that it's the encryption that's a problem. If you have to decrypt something, then that makes it an issue. I'm guessing. Why do I keep hitting the wrong button? Okay, there we go. So, in today's blog post, the Dolphin developers deny that including the Wii Common Key in the emulator violates the anti-circumvention provisions of the DMCA, which forbids technology that is primarily designed or produced for the purpose of circumventing a technological measure that affects controls access to a work protected under this title. Oh my God. Okay. I hope you guys understood that because I certainly didn't. As once again, all that I'm understanding is that it's wrong if it circumvents. That seems to be the message. Gosh, I gotta catch my breath. Like I said, oh man, to me, I used to smoke a lot, and I'm still recovering. Considering that only a small fraction of what we do involves circumvention, we think that the claim that we are primarily for circumvention is a reach, says the Dolphin team. We do not believe this angle would be successful in a US courtroom if it were ever to come up to that. The reason the lawyers representing Nintendo would make such a leap is because they wish to create a narrative where the DMCA exemptions do not apply to us, as the exemptions are powerful and widely in our favor. Nintendo is a tough nut to crack, from what I understand. They are litigious. They will come after you legally. I'm not, however, I am not educated enough to even begin to try to advise the Dolphin team here. All I can do is sit back and watch and see what happens, because all I know is that if Dolphin appeared on Steam, I would get it. And so that makes my opinions, of course, biased, because I have a personal stake in seeing the Dolphin released on Steam. Because Steam is a trusted source, therefore, if Dolphin is on Steam, I would get it. Therefore, my opinion could be considered to be tainted. The blog cites the reverse engineering portion of copyright law, which allows for circumventing a technological measure for the purpose of enabling interoperability interoperability of a independently created computer program with other programs. The Dolphin developers cite this full section of copyright law as a significant legal protection for emulation in the US. Geez, excuse me. And the reason why Nintendo has yet to legally challenge any emulator with the DMCA anti-circumvention clause, despite the law going into effect 25 years ago. I had no idea that this was that old. We do not believe that Dolphin is in any legal danger. The post concludes, planned future planned features for the Steam release of Dolphin, including a big picture UI with controller support, will still be finished and made available in the emulator in coming months. You see, this is something that I find interesting. They're doing all this work, but are they making any money? From and I can't say for sure that they are, because like I said, there are people out there who patch and repair games and make them able to be played like on Windows 10 and Windows 11, and they do it completely for free. There's people who create mods for games that are buggy. How you doing, Bethesda? And 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 they just do it because they have a passion for the game. I I just find that to be a lot of work, though. Yeah, and that's the end of that article. And oh, sorry, I may not have mentioned it, but that article was on PC Gamer and written by Wes Finland. And yeah, I am not quite so sure what to make of all of that. Kind of wish that I want to get the emulator, but yeah. At any rate, this is one that I should have read some time ago. And whenever I was covering the MMO RPG that they want to develop, Amazon wants to create for Lord of the Rings, which I would be very interested in that, even though there's already an MMO RPG for Lord of the Rings. Like I said before, they have the challenge of creating powerful player characters, but not more powerful than our heroes from the show. From not the show, screw the show. I'm talking about the movies from the books. Like Aragorn. Aragorn's a badass. Nobody should be up there topping Aragorn. Let's see here. Where are we at? Where are we at? Here we go. So this one is covered by Bounding in the Comics, written by John F. Trent. Let's bring this down a little bit. There we go. Is that fine? I think that's fine. New Lord of the Rings MMO announced that will do justice to the expansive Middle-earth universe. Amazon Games VP describes it as a fresh take. There's those condemned words, a fresh take. Like, that's what I was saying earlier. Whenever somebody says, oh, we're doing a fresh take, we're starting with a clean slate, it means that they're taking a leak on what came before. That's what they're doing. Like, Star Wars was a fresh take, and they managed to retroactively destroy Han Solo. They retroactively destroyed Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker is now just a guy. He used to be the person who ended the Empire and defeated Palpatine. Nope, just a guy now. Who cares? He didn't do nothing. He didn't do nothing. Luke who? And that's why I'm scared to death that they're going to do here. I'm not even scared. I know that they're going to do it. Aragorn was a bitch. That's what it's going to be. It was actually Arwen who did everything, even though she was a great hero in her own. Sorry, I'm already starting, but I know how these people are. I wonder if is that a screenshot? Oh, Stone Giant and Lord of the Rings Online 2012. Okay. So yeah, I played that game briefly. I should try to get back into it, but unfortunately Final Fantasy 14 is a thing, and it was much better. In a press release, Embracer Group announced that a new MMO is in the early stages of production and is being developed by Amazon Games Orange County Studio and will be published by Amazon Games globally for PC consoles. Again, this is the same company that released New World. The other articles I was reading said that was a successful game. I never played it. I haven't really heard much about it since its release. Amazon Games Vice President Christopher Hartman commented on a deal that the game saying, we're committed to bringing players high quality games, whether through original IPs or long loved ones like Lord of the Rings. I don't have faith that you guys can do it justice. I really don't. After Rings of Power, no. He added, bringing players a fresh take. Those words, you might as well just say for modern audiences, because we all know what that means. I lost my place. I just saw red whenever I read that. On the Lord of the Rings has a long been an aspiration for our team, and we're honored and grateful that Middle Earth Enterprises is entrusting us with this iconic world. We're also pleased to be expanding our relationship with Embracer Group following our Tomb Raider deal last year, as they've proven to be excellent collaborators. Then collaborate on some Soul Reaver, please. Now that's a pretty cool screenshot. The Lonely Mountain in Lord of the Rings Online 2012, Warner Brothers Games. Lee Guinchard, pal, your name's Lee for now on. The CEO of Free Mode, who recently signed a deal with Warner Brothers Discovery to create more of the Lord of the Rings films. Oh, really? Also commented on the new deal saying, the world of Middle Earth continues to prove an endlessly fertile ground for creators, and Amazon Games has a passion for building immersive, compelling worlds and publishing games for a global audience. I think that they're going to be between a rock and a hard place here. On one hand, you don't want to break the lore of the game, but then again, you want the world to progress. That's what happens with World of Warcraft. The story is ever moving forward, and unfortunately, it has caused them to destroy some beloved characters to do it, but the players are having an effect on the world. I kind of now I'm starting to change my mind because it's almost like they might have to create a Tolkien-esque world, but just let the players run free in it. Let them become the Gandalfs and the Aragorns and the Legolases, right? Let them become the heroes rather than the heroes we know and love. So it's going to be tough to do. I don't know what I would do in that situation, but I'm starting to lean towards that the world and the initial lore would be there. And then it's like, okay, here you are. Good luck, you know? And then the heroes, the legendary heroes, maybe they don't exist, or maybe they existed 10,000 years ago. And now the threat has risen up again, right? Continuing on with the article, pardon me. We have the clear ambition to create the highest quality entertainment products for this IP, whether we utilize internal resources or team up with the best industry partners that complement our capabilities. We're taking care to deliver an MMO which will do justice to the expansive Middle Earth universe and delight players around the world. I certainly hope you guys do a better job than what you did with the Rings of Power. You see, like here, this is an image of Golem 2023. And I mean, the game, I guess, looks all right, but boy, was that game universally panned. Nobody liked it. Let's see here. That person continues saying, today I'm thrilled to announce that Mike and Pam signed a deal to whoever they are to make multiple Lords of the Rings movies. Lord of the Rings is one of the most iconic storytelling franchises of all time, and we're all excited. Speaking of remakes, this is a remake that does not have to happen. The Lord of the Ring movies are awesome. I don't know, maybe remake The Hobbit. Let's see here. DeLuca and Abby would then issue a joint statement to Variety, noting that New Line Cinema and Peter Jackson took an unprecedented leap of faith to realize the incredible stories, characters, and world of the Lord of the Rings on the big screen. At least they're showing some respect to the original, right? A lot of developers and people like that don't do that anymore. They hate the original stuff, and they show it in their work. But for all the scope and detail lovingly packed into the two trilogies, the vast, complex, and dazzling universe dreamed up by J.R.R. Tolkien remains largely unexplored. They also told the outlet, following our recent acquisition of Middle Earth Enterprises. Gosh, I hate the way that sounds just so corporate. We're thrilled to embark on the new collaboration journey with New Line Cinema and Warner Brothers, bringing the incomparable world of Tolkien back to the big screen in new and exciting ways. Don't you dare say for modern audiences. Then added, we understand how cherished these works are, and working together with our partners at New Line Cinema and Warner Brothers Pictures, we plan to honor the past, looking to the future and adhere to the strongest level of quality and production values. We'll see about that. So far, you guys have been pushing movies out with big IP names and putting no writing into it, no scripting into it, not giving a damn what the actors do, and just saying it's going to sell because number one, it's a big IP. Number two, if you don't like it, you're some kind of a bigot. Watch our show or you're a bigot. It's like that new Charlie's Angels that came out. This movie is not for men. And then wherever men don't go see it, men are bigots because they didn't go see it. It's like, what the hell do you want? But they throw up a shield immediately. Like that their whole marketing anymore for a lot of movies and sorry, I'm going off on a tangent, but their marketing for movies and stuff anymore is simply, if you don't like it, you're a horrible person. So give us your money. If you don't give us your money, you're a bad person. Give us your money, Nazi. Oh God. Oh, I'm getting a headache. Oh God. Fuck my life. How long have I been muted? How long have I been muted? No. 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 Okay. Okay. When did I mute? Okay. Fuck it. Fuck it. Fuck me. Okay. So look, I'm just going to start this one all over again. So we'll talk about this. Um, So this is after Kevin Smith's Masters in the Universe Revelation was rejected by viewers. A new report says that live action film has been scrapped. So basically, we've lost the chance to have. In fact, let me bring this back up so I can be. Okay, there we go. There's the light. The light's flashing. Okay, so we lost this opportunity to have a live action He-Man again because Kevin Smith decided that he had to have his head scratches. He had to have Hollywood tell him what a good boy he is, rather than doing what he'd always done in the past. And it just made the show that he wanted to make. And Kevin Smith, back whenever he was a big guy, man, he wouldn't care if somebody would have told him, oh man, what you did, it's not acceptable. It's offensive. He made Red State, by the way. And from what I watched about that movie, he seemed not to care if he upset anybody. But I guess that it's okay to upset one group of people, but you can't upset the other group of people because they're the good people. But anyway, gosh, I can't believe I was dumb enough to do that. Thank you, Carl, for letting me know. I might have to make you a moderator and keep me on my toes. Let's see here. A report claims that the planned Masters of the Universe live action film will no longer move forward at Netflix after development costs bloated to $30 million. And here we have a picture of He-Man from Masters of the Universe Revelation. You might remember him slightly from the 80s cartoon. He was a background character. He took a back seat to, Tila, Ram Man, Fisto, Evelyn. If you blink, you would have missed him in the 80s cartoon. And so it makes sense that it would be the same way in the Revelation cartoon as well. Which, by the way, if you look at the animation, it's really good. That's because it's the same people who did Castlevania on Netflix also did this. And if you haven't watched Castlevania on Netflix, you need to watch it because it's a really good show. Let's see. So we're going to go ahead and read this out again because I'm a moron. This new report comes from Variety's Matt Donnelly, who declares Masters of the Universe, a live action movie based on He Man and a slew of popular Mattel toys. They always got to throw that in there. Oh, it's based on toys. Who cares? It was a good show, it was entertaining. Is officially dead at Netflix, according to multiple Variety sources. Let's see here. They added that insiders said that close to 30 million has already been spent on development costs, and the cash that's been shelled out to hold on to talent has already been spent. Here he's basically saying that he believes that the figure 30 million, it could be more than double that, but the writer of the article notes that there is no sources for that. The sources aren't included, so we don't know if that's true or not. Let's see here. Before this report, the movie had already had trouble in pre-production. Noah Centineo, who played Atom Smasher in last year's Black Adam, was originally cast to play He-Man in the film back in 2019. At this time, the film was expected to be produced by Sony Pictures. And just knowing that was back in 2019 really takes me back, because I made videos about this because I was so hyped, pardon me, to see He-Man return, especially to the big screen, but just to see a new cartoon. I was so excited. I called my mom. Mom, He-Man's going to be on television. She's like, son, you don't live with me anymore. You can watch whatever the hell you want. But, and then it came out, and I did kind of it's not even a review, it's just a rant. I watched the first season and I was just so disappointed I couldn't go on with it. I was like, I will not watch season 2, and I still haven't. However, in January, oh, let me do this. Oh, just make sure. So, going on with the article. What is going on? Okay. In January 2022, the character was recast with West Side Story's Kyle Allen taking on the role. With Allen taking on the role, the project was also moved to Netflix. Mattel Films producer Bobby Brenner confirmed that the movie at the time, saying, Masters of the Universe is an iconic property that shaped the imagination of an entire generation of kids with the message of becoming the best version of yourself. Exactly, true, based, red-pilled. She added, with our partners at Netflix, we look forward to showing audiences that anything can happen in Eternia. We are continuing to unlock the global franchise in new ways, and we can't wait to see Kyle battle it out with Skeletor in an epic live-action saga. Doesn't that just break your heart? Like, really? Couldn't we have... We just wanted this thing, right? We just wanted this thing, but they had to make it for the modern audience. You know, we can't have a show that doesn't tell you that you're not evil for being a man. In fact, the film's producers note that they've been trying to get a live-action film made for 14 years. Todd Black, Jason Blumenthal, and Steve Tisch issued a joint statement. We've always been inspired by the fantastical world of Eternia. This movie has been 14 years in the making for us and our partners, and we are so excited to tell an entirely new story for Masters of the Universe with the Nee brothers and Dave Callahan. For Mattel and Netflix, and share it with a global audience. Callahan's addition was also new to the project at Netflix. Art Markham and Matt Holloway had previously worked on the script for the film while they were at Sony. So there was really traction to get this started, and it just caused somebody had to get their head scritches and had to suck up to Hollywood. Here's the other He-Man show that I didn't bother watching. It seemed like it was a new iteration that was more aimed at kids, which is fine, but I had no interest in it. I wanted my He-Man, which is what Revelation was supposed to be. Let's see here. I'm starting to feel like this article has meandered off of what I'm reading it for. Let's see here. So this person also worked on the script while it was at Sony and was even in talks to direct the film at one point. He explained that they had planned to The Hollywood Reporter back in 2021. What I liked the most about it was mostly about friendship between He-Man and Battle Cat. The idea was there had always been He-Man and different recipients of the Sword of Power, and the battle cat had always served at their side. Okay, yeah, a boy and his dog. Sure. Goyer continued, and this was a new He-Man that Battle Cat and many people didn't think was worthy of the sword. So it was a story of the character earning the sword, but more importantly, earning the friendship of Battle Cat, who just thought the guy was a lightweight. I really liked it. I thought it was a fun story. There was a lot of humor in it, and it creeps up on you because Battle Cat sort of grudgingly accepts him, and it's Battle Cat's acceptance of He-Man that gave this version of the story heart. That would be an interesting way to see it. It would kind of be a what do you call it? An origin story. Of course, it would change the character of Battle Cat from being the coward to actually being more of the sage character that, you know, you have to get the acceptance of. But I mean, that would be interesting. Not to mention, just flat out cowardly characters aren't very interesting. Typically, a cowardly character has to be um, conniving or villainous to make them interesting. Think like Benny from the Mummy movie. So once again, we're beating up on Momra. That's the wrong villain. Okay, let me check something out here. Let me see if they kind of get back to the point. Okay, here we go. We're skipping to the end. The report does not mention whether or not the reception of Masters of the Universe Revelation affected Netflix's decision to move on from the project. Are you kidding me? Of course it affected it. Rather, it points to failed negotiations around the film's budget. Mattel and the film's producers apparently tried to sell Netflix on a $180 million budget, but Netflix still said no despite that budget including the right to the film as well as already incurred development costs. Negotiations also reportedly included a sequel that would be shot at the same time. What? No. Okay. Despite claiming Netflix seemingly owns the film rights now, Black is trying to shop film elsewhere, having contacted Universal Pictures in the last month. However, Universal reportedly passed on it. Yeah, it's not getting made. It's not getting made. He-Man Revelation fell on its damn face because it wasn't about He-Man. And now that's costed all of us. We all lost. We all lost because a former nerd decided to dye his hair blue. He needed the head scritches. He needed the head pats of everybody but the He-Man fans. He didn't give a damn what the He-Man fans wanted. The hell with them. They can go fuck themselves, right? Oh yeah, so yeah, that's not a good one to finish up on. Like that made me mad. I don't like that. But anyway, those are the let me check and make sure my mic's on again. There we go. So those are basically the stories that I let's see here. What time do we got? Do we got time for one more? Do we got time for one more? We might have time for one more. I'm thinking we might. Let's see how far this goes. No, why did I even save that story? That's trash, that's rubbish, that's bucket. No, okay. I think that we're going to have to call it there. However, all of you who are here, thank you very much for being here. I would, as much as I hate to do this, I would ask you to like the stream if you liked it. Consider subscribing, you know, simply because it helps encourage me to do this. Right? I like I like reading about video games. I like reading video game stories. I like video game news. I do, however, sometimes meander off into other rants, but that's just me being old and thinking the kids should stay the hell off my lawn. But with that being said, thank you very much for hanging out. Thank you very much for the interaction. And you guys can all go out, enjoy your Saturday. I am about ready to go out and play some D&D with my buddies. I'm going to be a rogue who's a con man and a liar and selfish. Basically, I am playing myself. Except for I'm not evil. I have a heart of God. I have a heart of gold. I'm just misunderstood. I'm just misunderstood. That's all it is. You can change me, ladies. You can change me. Okay. All right. That's enough of that. Once again, thank you guys very much. And you all enjoy your day.
Time's up. Let's do this. Leroy!